Hey everybody, it's John Crowley from UTV Guide. We're here with the brand new 2018 Polaris RZR XP Turbo S. We just got back from the press intro for the Turbo S out in Las Vegas, where we rode for a half a day. And there are some pretty cool new features of the Turbo S above the normal Polaris RZR Turbo. At first I thought this was mostly a normal turbo with long travel, and Polaris has done quite a bit to actually improve the strength and durability of this car. In designing the Turbo S, Polaris left the wheelbase at 90 inches, which is the same as the 64-inch wide model. This one just has a 72-inch wide stance, long travel, with 19 inches of front travel, wheel travel, and 21 inches of rear wheel travel. One of the first things you notice past the long travel stance of this car is the 32-inch tires. This is a brand new tire from ITP. It's a 32-inch Coyote on a 15-inch rim. Engine and transmission are basically the same on the Turbo S as they are on the 64-inch turbo, but they've made a few improvements, mostly in the cooling on the transmission. CVT has more airflow, and it's actually directed to the inner part of the secondary. So the shocks on the Turbo S are Fox live valve Dynamics shocks. What's different about the normal Dynamics car is these are internal bypass, where the 2018 Dynamics 64-inch wide car had RC2 shocks. So these are 2.5-inch up front and 3-inch in the back. The trailing arms on the Turbo S are 67% stronger than the trailing arms on a normal 64-inch wide car. And the front arms are also larger diameter and thicker steel. Polaris really took a hard look at everything on this car in the development to make the chassis and suspension strong enough to handle the larger tires and increased travel. One of the things that we see on this thing are a lot of the different hardware pieces are now M12. So all the suspension mounting points are all M12. One of the really cool features of this is a completely redesigned front differential in the Turbo S. It's actually the same or similar to the RS model that just came out, but it is 2 times bigger than the original turbo differential. It has 3 times higher impact strength, and it is rubber mounted, so it sits in isolation, so you don't get the feedback through the steering wheel that you did in previous models. The roll cage on the Turbo S is all new. It actually has an 8-point cage on this thing. The 6-point all fall in the same place as the previous turbo, but this one has a D pillar that comes out, and it doesn't provide much structural strength. It's mostly just there to hold up the rear plastic and everything, but it does have a bracket there that comes down to the frame. They've also improved the strength of the ROPS cage in a few spots here. You can see it has angled bracing on the cage, and they have also made it so it's easier to fish wires up and through the cage all the way to the back of the chassis. The grill on the Turbo S is definitely different. You can see it's got these cool accent lights, LED just around the edge, and the opening is a little bit larger, so you're going to get some more ram air for better cooling. The rear plastic on the Turbo S is all new and includes LED lighting. That center section there is pretty cool. And it also has a rear-facing camera that is accessed through the ride command, and it is wired up front for a camera, but it doesn't include it. You can easily add that on as an accessory. Steering wheel on the Turbo S is kind of one of the things that's pretty cool. It's a Sparco steering wheel. Not only is it very firm and stout, but it's also a slightly different position. So you can put the steering wheel down a little bit lower and closer to you than you'd find in the other one. Cockpit has been redesigned in the Turbo S. You've got ride command, a little bit different digital dash on it, and it's hard to see, but you've got pre-set up switch things that just have plugs in the way, so you just pop those plugs out. You don't have to cut anything to add in more accessories there in the center. They've also got two more that are prescribed on the left hand side over here, but you do have to cut those. Seats and seating position are basically the same, but it does include a 4-point harness on the car, which is nice, especially with the speeds these Turbo S's can get up to. It's actually they bumped the speed from 80 to 85 on the Turbo S, so having 4-point harness really makes you feel a little bit more secure in the cockpit. Although this was a complete ground-up redesign on the Turbo S, Polaris did reuse quite a bit of the plastic on the car, and also some of the mounting points for some of the accessories. You can see the holes there for, you know, like your rock guards, rock slider type things, or tree kickers. Those are all the same as you'd find on the 64 model. Fender flares and a lot of the plastic are all the same. The bed's the same except for the where the D pillar comes in, and then also the rear plastic is different. But it's pretty much a lot of reused parts on this. Aftermarket cage wise, I think everything will fit, except the dash is a little bit higher up front. So if you've got a bar that comes across, it's going to need to be a little bit higher than you'd find on the normal 64-inch wide model. So overall, pretty excited about this car. Love the changes Polaris has made to the durability on the different pieces of the car, the suspension, driveline, chassis. Love the wide stance, the bigger tires, and it's definitely a fast, nimble car. It definitely feels stout and durable. Two different pieces where I would like to see some changes. Number one is with the amount of legroom in the cab. It's pretty much unchanged from previous models. And the second piece is low range on the car. Low range, you can go over 40 miles an hour, and I would like to see a lower low range where I can get more control in the tight technical rocks, like in Johnson Valley for King of the Hammers, Rubicon, Moab, where you've got something that's might be pretty tricky and you want to have more control of the vehicle at low speeds without slipping a belt.